You were created with a gift. The gift of wonder. The ability to ask questions like, what if? We often allow reason, logic, and intellect to suppress our desire to wonder, to dream. This Christmas season, God has called you to wake up, to reignite your wonder, to spark your imagination. You still have the ability to dream crazy dreams, to imagine possibilities, to see things differently. To wonder is to desire to see things more clearly, as they really are. Open your eyes to the God of creation that is all around.
Well, over the last few weeks here at Ridge Church, anyway, we have been walking through a series called The Gift of Wonder, and we've been talking about what it really means to just wonder, because we've all been created with the ability to do that. It's really a unique human characteristic that we can wonder about things. To wonder is really just to think about something with curiosity, to imagine possibilities. How does that work? What could this be like? What could be, maybe what should be in our lives. We have to wonder about those things. Wonder causes us to anticipate what is to come, to get excited about things, to imagine what things might be and what could happen. And there's really no other time of the year like Christmas, because it is so wonderful. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and it's wonderful because it's so full of wonder. But we often forget that. We tend to leave that at the door by the time we graduate into adulthood. There's something about being a kid, though, that kids are so good at wonder, aren't they? Their imaginations, they can dream crazy dreams. And it's fun to watch what they can do. And I remember how wonderful it was to me when I was young. I mean, everybody has kind of their own, especially here in North America. I mean, we all have kind of our little Christmas traditions or things that were important to us. In different parts of the country, you kind of do things different ways. But, for me, I grew up in, kind of southeastern Georgia, and we just had some unusual things, I think, that became a part of what we do, but they seemed like really normal to me. That's just, and so I don't talk about all of them. But there's a few, like I have two sisters, one older, one younger, and one of the things that we would do every Christmas Eve, like this would be the night where we would get so excited about what was to come when we were young. We would all pile into my older sister's bed in like a little double bed, not real big, and we would, sleep there. Of course, there was too much anticipation because we were so excited. So really, it just meant we weren't going to get a lot of sleep, and we were imagining, what the sounds were outside, and could it be? And then we would get up the next morning, really early. And it was like the only morning during the year that we didn't mind getting up really early and leave on our PJs, and our parents would throw us in the car, and we would drive over to my grandma's house. She was actually here tonight at the first service. I mean, it was fun to see her, and she would greet us. She would greet us at the door every year. And she would sing, "We wish you a Merry Christmas." And we would chime in, and we would go in. And it was just, there was something about it. There was just a good, fond, kind of nostalgic sort of memory. And then, there was the rest of it. There was shrouded in mystery. And, that's really kind of what it boils down to. I was thinking about, why don't I wonder like that anymore? Why don't I anticipate? Because, I kind of grew out of some of that. I don't get that excited about Christmas anymore. Instead, it's just the opposite, right? Now we're dreading it, because it comes with bills and credit card debt into the next year, and we can't, seem to, it's like Christmas sneaks up on us every year. Christmas is not a part of your emergency fund. I don't know if you know that. It always comes on the same day, and so there's no emergency when it comes to Christmas, and yet it feels like it sometimes, and it just kind of begins to lose something the older we get, and we stop wondering. And I think it's because it's lost some of its mystery. I think that's really what causes us to really wonder in the first place. Mystery inspires us to wonder. That's really, when there is mystery about something, it's intriguing and it causes us to wonder about it. It causes us to want to investigate and want to figure it out. When we're kids, it's like I remember, driving home during the Christmas season. It'd be night after a Christmas party or something, some family event, and I'd look at the sky and I could imagine every little star potentially being Rudolph's nose. I could imagine it, like just yesterday. It really was a big deal to me. I thought I could just imagine it, and then you'd walk in on a Christmas morning into my grandparents' den, and there would be white boot prints, walking out of the fireplace, and it was like, oh, wow, it was amazing. It was so cool. And then of course, the best part of all, the greatest mystery of all, were the gifts, right? Just the idea of wrapped gifts really is the idea of mystery, because that's the goal. It's like you take this really unique gift and you put it in a square box and you can't tell what it is, and so you're weighing it, on the scale, and trying to figure out, no, it can't be a new Nintendo, it weighs, 14.3 pounds, and so it can't be that, and you're measuring and you're shaking, and there's mystery, and it's wonderful when you're a kid, but then you get older and it's just, it just begins to lose something. And that's part of the problem, is because when it loses mystery, it begins to lose wonder, doesn't it? When the mystery of Christmas, and especially the Christmas story, as familiar as it has become to us, when it begins to lose its mystery, the real problem is that it begins to lose its wonder as well, and we stop wondering. It just is a familiar story. It's cute. We like watching our kids and little musicals and kids plays, and it's just kind of about a cute memory. And I wonder if some of you are here tonight and that's kind of your experience. Maybe for you, that kind of went bye-bye a long time ago. There's really no mystery for you. Maybe there never was. Maybe Christmas really for you was just kind of a cultural thing. It was just a phenomenon, just something you had to do. And sometimes it involved going to church for you. Maybe it was one of the 2 times of the year that you actually went to church. And so, and you were okay with it. You could deal with it for a night, for an evening. And so, maybe that's why you're here tonight. And it's just kind of what you do and kind of a tradition. And there's something you feel like you're supposed to do for some reason. And, maybe there's even some things that you like about it, but you don't really know why. I kind of like the hymns and some familiar songs. And, I like the idea of a candle lighting, whatever it is. But then again, maybe for some of you, you're here and you don't really feel that way at all. It doesn't really do anything for you. You really don't wonder about Christmas at all. As a matter of fact, it sounds like it. If you were to wonder about Christmas, that just may come with a little more disappointment if you were able to actually figure it out. You'd rather just kind of keep it, at arm's length. Keep it at a distance, and you kind of package Jesus and the stories of Jesus, right up there with, Santa Claus and Elf on the Shelf, and you tend to discount it a little bit because it's a little bit hard to believe and there's so much mystery around it and you're just not real sure what to do with it. And for some of you, it just has been a year of disappointment, perhaps. And you lost mystery a long time ago. You just want some concrete things. You just want to know some things. You just want to understand what's coming. And the idea of a weird, crazy, miraculous story that happened 2,000 years ago is just that. It's just a weird, crazy, miraculous story that you don't really want anything to do with. And I wonder if that's where you are tonight. You've just lost some of that wonder. And so what I want us to do, because here's the thing, there's not a lot of answers as far as an application. Well, here's what you do. You do this list and you do these things and everything's going to be okay and you check your boxes and it's not the way it works, right? There's no how-to video to watch on how to wonder again about the mystery of Christmas. And so here's what I'm proposing. Here's my hope for you tonight, is that you would pause long enough to choose to wonder tonight. Maybe just for a few minutes. Maybe for the whole evening. Maybe for the rest of this Christmas season, that you would pause long enough and choose to wonder about the Christmas story. Let's just start there. Could it be that these events really took place? And here's what I want to do. In order to kind of open our eyes, maybe, once again, to incite wonder, and to inspire us. That's kind of the goal of the whole service tonight, is to just cause you to wonder about the mystery of Christmas. Here's what I want to do. I want to read through the story, but I want to do it through the eyes of a child. This is not my regular Bible, by the way. It's cute and colorful and all. But I want to read it through the eyes of a child, thinking that maybe it'll help us with our perspective a little bit. Maybe to hear it a little bit differently will help trigger something in you, just to cause you to pause long enough to say, I wonder. So I want to read through it. This is the Jesus Storybook Bible. This is what we give to parents who are going through baby dedication with their children, and we love it. My kids love this book. I mean, absolutely. The one that we have at home, I couldn't bring because I didn't know if all the pages were there or not, because they've just bent it and torn it, and they love the stories in it. They love to get this out and to read, and some of them are kind of long, and it's like, no, it's bedtime, baby. You're not real sure, but they love it. And here's why. I think it's because there's so much mystery here. There's such amazing stories, and so I wonder if we could wonder together for just a minute. Listen, this is how the story goes. Everything was ready. The moment God had been waiting for was here at last. God was coming to help his people just as he had promised in the beginning. But how would he come? What would he be like? What would he do? Mountains would have bowed down. Seas would have roared. Trees would have clapped their hands. But the earth held its breath. As silent as snow falling, he came in. And when no one was looking in the darkness, he came. There was a young girl who was engaged to a man named Joseph, and Joseph happened to be the great, and some more greats, grandson of King David. One morning, this girl was minding her own business when suddenly a great warrior of light appeared right there in her bedroom. He was Gabriel, and he was an angel, a special messenger from heaven. That's a little unbelievable. When she saw the tall, shining man standing there, Mary was frightened. Wouldn't you be? You don't need to be scared, Gabriel said. God is very happy with you. Mary looked around to see if perhaps he was talking to somebody else. Mary? Gabriel said. And he laughed with such gladness that Mary's eyes filled with sudden tears. Mary, you're going to have a baby, a little boy. You will call him Jesus. He is God's own son, and he's the one. He's the rescuer. The God who flung planets into space and kept them whirling around and around. The God who made the universe with just a word. The one who could do anything at all was making himself small and coming down as a baby. Wait, God was sending a baby to rescue the world? But it's too wonderful, Mary said, and felt her heart beating hard. How can it be true? Is anything too wonderful for God? Gabriel asked. So Mary trusted God more than what her eyes could see. And she believed. I am God's servant, she said. Whatever God says, I will do. Sure enough, it was just as the angel had said. 9 months later, Mary was almost ready to have her baby. Now, Mary and Joseph had to take a trip to Bethlehem, the town King David was from. But when they reached the little town, they found every room was full. Every bed was taken. Go away, the innkeepers told them. There isn't any place for you. Where would they stay? Soon Mary's baby would come. They couldn't find anywhere except an old tumble-down stable. So they stayed where the cows and the donkeys and the horses stayed. And there, in the stable, amongst the chickens and the donkeys and the cows, in the quiet of the night, God gave the world his wonderful gift. The baby that would change the world was born, his baby son. Mary and Joseph wrapped him up to keep him warm. They made a soft bed of straw and used the animal's feeding trough as his cradle. And then listen to this line. I love this. And they gazed in wonder at God's great gift, wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. Mary and Joseph named him Jesus, Emmanuel, which means God has come to live with us. Because, of course, he had. Now, here's the question that I want you to consider. I want you to know, like, this is the question that you have to consider. What if that's true? What if it's true? What if it's true that God has actually come down to live with us? I mean, maybe you've not considered that in a while. You know, you grew up doing the church thing and you've been to lots of Christmas Eve services and you know the story by heart, right? But when was the last time you considered that question? What if that's true? What if it's really true that God, the God who created the universe, that his magical plan was to put on flesh and show himself as a vulnerable little baby? What if that was his big plan? Great idea. That's a weird one. That was very unexpected. You talk about mystery. And then imagine the wonder that Mary and Joseph were expressing when they saw God laying before them. Can you imagine? I mean, have you wondered about that? I wonder what that must be like. I mean, what a mystery that must have been. And it was because it was a mystery that it was so wonderful. They stood in awe and wonder that they were in charge of little baby God. That God himself had shown up. And don't you know he had like an infinite number of ideas about how to rescue us? About how to reestablish a relationship with us? Don't you know? And yet this was the plan. Have you wondered about that recently? What a mysterious plan. And then eventually, I mean, there's more mystery when it comes to Jesus, because eventually that baby grew up and became a man. And that man, of course, did all kinds of incredible things, did miracles, but that doesn't really surprise us because, well, if he's God, then that's what God does. Like he does amazing things, right? So no real mystery there. You know where the mystery is in adult God is where he spent the majority of his time. That to me is a mystery. Because you would think that if it's God in a bod, that he's going to be hanging out with the superstars, the religious elite, the people who've got it all together, the people who have like the entire Torah memorized, the people who know it by heart and study it and they follow it, and their life goal is to be as much like their Creator as possible, to move in his direction. And yet Jesus wasn't seen there. More often than not, he was caught spending time with the outcast and the broken and the weary and the hurting and the oppressed and the sick and the sinners and the tax collectors and the ordinary people, maybe a lot like you and me. That's where God, in human flesh, spent the majority of his time. That's a mystery to me. That's worth wondering about. And then eventually he was executed. And you know, he was executed not for anything that he did. He was executed because of who he claimed to be. And he was buried. And then the real kicker, the real mystery of it all is that 3 days later, his tomb was empty. And the only plausible explanation was that he had risen. It was too unbelievable otherwise. There was no good explanation. And here's the thing. Regardless of what you believe about all this, it's like you stepping in here and you're thinking, you know, that's exactly what I don't believe. But regardless of what you believe, something happened that day. You have to admit, something happened that day. And all I'm suggesting is that it's worth wondering about. It's worth considering. I mean, all these events, you know, the stories surrounding the birth of Jesus and the miracles that he did as an adult and the way that he spent his time and then the mysteries surrounding his death and his burial and his assumed resurrection. There's so much mystery there that, here's the thing, it should cause you to wonder. There's so much mystery that it should cause you to wonder. I just wonder when the last time you wondered was. Have you wondered? This Christmas season, have you wondered at what might have happened? Have you considered, could it be true? Could this be true? Because that's what I want for you and for me. If you're a Christian here, or you would put yourself into that category and say, I love Jesus, yes I do. I love Jesus, how about you? If that's you, my hope for you is that you would simply begin to wonder again about what you say you already believe. That you would not be overwhelmed this Christmas by all of the busyness of the Christmas season and then jump into January and, start all over again, getting ready for next season, right? That's not what I want. I want you to be overwhelmed by the wonder and the mystery of it all. That's my hope for you. If you're not a Christian here, and I imagine some of you fall into that category, or maybe you're just not real sure. Like, I'm not real sure where I fall. Not certain of that. And here's my hope for you. That you would be willing to give yourself permission to wonder. Regardless of what you think or what you buy or don't buy or what your parents have told you or how you grew up or what your tradition is or what your beef is with all of the mysterious, weird stuff in there, regardless of that, my hope is that you would simply give yourself permission to wonder. That you would consider the possibility. That you and I would leave here considering the possibility that it's true. That God came to live with us. Let me pray for you. Heavenly Father, thank you that we can celebrate this together, freely, openly. The idea that Jesus, a historical figure, was actually your son who came and lived and died. And we can celebrate that. And regardless of all the mystery and the weirdness and the miracles, you've given us the ability to wonder. I pray that we would not neglect that gift just because we're adults and we're smart. Would you give us the courage and the discipline and the desire to wonder again? Would you inspire us? Father, I pray that your Holy Spirit would be poured out on us so that we would wake up to wonder. To just consider the possibility that is true. The possibility that these stories, regardless of how mysterious they are, that maybe they're true, because if they're true, my goodness, what a difference they should make in our lives. And I pray that every person here, within the sound of my voice, would leave here different, changed, and moved. All for you, Jesus, and for your glory. Amen.